Hey, welcome. Today we are diving deep into one of the most foundational texts in all of history, the biblical book of Genesis. The big question is, how does this ancient story really explain creation, humanity, and our whole place in the universe? We're about to break down a specific theological interpretation laid out in our source material. So let's get into it.
So our whole journey today really starts with this one central question. We're going to explore how this ancient text, at least as our source interprets it, builds its entire account of origins, from the cosmos itself, right down to the very first human family.
Okay, so before we can really get Genesis, we kind of have to zoom out and see where it fits in the bigger picture. See, it's not really a standalone book. It's more like the opening act in a much larger five-part story.
And that collection of 5 books has a name, the Pentateuch. You've got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Together, they basically form the blueprint for the entire biblical story that comes after.
Now, a key idea from our source material is that we shouldn't see these as 5 separate books at all. The argument is that we should read them as one single continuous story. You can almost see it flowing, right? From the creation of the world in Genesis all the way to the death of Moses at the very end of Deuteronomy. It's presented as just one epic narrative.
So if it's one long story, what's the glue that holds it all together? Well, the source points to 4 major themes that act like these powerful threads weaving through all 5 of those books.
And here they are: election, covenant, law, and Exodus. These 4 concepts are presented as the thematic backbone of the whole thing. Let's just quickly unpack what our source says each one of them is all about.
First up, we've got election. Now, this isn't about choosing one group for, special treatment. In this interpretation, the purpose was way bigger, to pick one family line, starting with a guy named Abraham, to be a kind of channel for a blessing that could eventually reach everybody, all nations.
Next is covenant. Think of it like a binding agreement. But, and this is a huge point in the source material, this is not a contract between equals. It's started by God, the greater party, with humanity as the lesser party. So it's a relationship built on divine initiative, not a negotiation.
The third theme is the law. And yeah, we might immediately think of the 10 Commandments, but this interpretation says its purpose was much broader than just a list of rules. It was designed to teach that there's only one God, to command people to care for the vulnerable, and to actually forge a strong, unified community.
And finally, we have Exodus. This is the big one, the great act of deliverance. The source frames this event, freeing the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, as the ultimate demonstration of God's power and total supremacy over any and all other gods that were being worshipped at the time.
All right, so with that foundation in place, let's zoom right into our main topic, the creation story from the first couple chapters of Genesis. The source describes this as a book of beginnings for absolutely everything, except, that is, for God, who is presented as already existing before time even began.
Okay, so our source material draws a really sharp line in the sand between 2 views on origins. On one side, you have the biblical creation account, where God creates everything and life appears according to their kind. On the other side is evolution, which the source describes as a man-made theory and a belief system where species change into other species over time. This clear opposition is absolutely central to the interpretation we're looking at.
Now, to build its case, the source focuses heavily on one specific phrase from Genesis, according to their kind. This is presented as a really crucial detail, a direct statement that plants and animals were created with distinct, unchangeable identities from the get-go.
And just to hammer home how important this idea is, get this. That phrase, according to their kind, appears 10 times in the first chapter alone. I mean, 10 times. The source argues that's no accident. It's there to emphasize that in this framework, a fish doesn't become a bird and a rose doesn't become a sunflower. So if plants and animals are all made according to their kind, what about us? What about humans? Well, this is where the story, according to the source, takes a really dramatic turn. It completely sets humanity apart from all other forms of life.
This right here is the verse that changes everything. Instead of according to their kind, the text says humanity is made in God's image and likeness. The source interprets this to mean that humans are uniquely created as a God kind.
So what does that actually mean? Well, the source breaks it down like this. We are like God in our ability to do things like feel love and affection, have complex emotions, communicate in meaningful ways, and even reason about the future. But, and this is a big but, we are fundamentally not God.
We can't be everywhere at once. We're not all powerful. We are human, not divine.
This special, unique creation of humanity then leads right into the formation of the very first human institution, and what's presented as the foundation for all of society.
So the story sets up this problem, right? After creating the first man, Adam, God says it's not good for him to be alone because, well, he can't have a real relationship with the animals. The solution? The creation of the first woman, Eve, who is made from Adam himself to be his suitable companion.
And that union right there establishes the very first institution, marriage. The source defines this foundational design as a heterosexual union between one man and one woman. It's described with 3 key actions. A man has to leave his parents, cleave or be totally united to his wife, and the two become one flesh, which is described as the closest possible human bond.
So when you step back and look at it, what we've just walked through is a complete framework, an ancient text's explanation for the cosmos, for life, and for the very structure of human society. And all of that leaves us with one final, pretty important question to think about. How does a story that's nearly 3,000 years old continue to so profoundly shape our modern conversations about where we come from, how we relate to each other, and what our ultimate purpose really is?